Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for attending our session today. Just to notice to everyone that the session will be recorded for our internal purposes. And so if you have a question about that, please let us know. Otherwise, we'll get started. So today's session is going to be talking about cost-effective ways to leverage Amazon to host your PeopleSoft environments. And I'll just start with a brief overview of who DLZP Group is. DLZP Group was founded in 2011. We are currently the #1 provider, solution provider of migrations to Amazon's web services for Oracle PeopleSoft applications. We actually worked with Amazon to develop the first test drive. We were the second partner to go live, but we were part of the team that actually developed the concept of a test drive, and now they have over 4,000 partners involved in the test drive program. We are a gold partner with Oracle. We're an advanced consulting partner with Amazon. We're a Canon solutions partner, and then we're also a Macadamius solutions partner who provides change management software for PeopleSoft applications. What we do, our primary business is focused around AWS migrations and then managing those infrastructure pieces on the Amazon cloud. So we're kind of a a blend between the old hosting companies and then the new age cloud services corporations. So we can manage all your PeopleSoft architecture as well as any other subsequent architecture that you bring across onto Amazon. We've also developed some wearable solutions to work with Google Glass and some other wearables and mobile devices to integrate into PeopleSoft. We are a specialized partner in training with Oracle, so a lot of the newer products or products that they didn't have before, we specialize in developing and performing that training for clients. We can also do PeopleSoft implementations of new products, and then we also offer on-demand instances, so if you needed a demo of the latest release for your own purposes, we could provision that for you. All our services are provided using a subscription model, similar to Amazon Web Services, in the context that it's an on-demand ad hoc service model. Today I'm just going to go over some of the information about what Amazon Web Services is. If you're new to it or not familiar with it, we'll talk about some of the different services that are offered by Amazon, as well as go over how we as DLZP Group migrate our customers over to Amazon's cloud and the type of infrastructure we leverage for that purpose. So moving on to Amazon Web Services, as far as the cloud infrastructure companies are concerned, Amazon is the leader with a Microsoft, I wouldn't say close second, but is the closest second in the group, and they continue to build and continue to be the largest web services provider in the cloud. Google and Microsoft are probably the most closest in terms of infrastructure services that are available that equate to what Amazon provides. Key point is that they have 5 times the compute capacity of the aggregate, total of the other 14 providers. So they are by far the largest cloud services provider on the internet. From a type of services, we've been doing Amazon since 2011, and during that time we've seen a rapid growth and innovative approach to developing web services. So every year they're launching more and more services that come with obviously the growth that they have. So in 2014 they released over 500 new services, and I believe in 2015 that number was close to 600 or 700. which bodes well for us because we leverage those new services as they are released within the infrastructures that we leverage for our clients. Amazon has data centers all over the world. They actually just announced that they're actually going to be deploying some data centers in Canada and some other South American countries, so that if you're in one of those places where you have some specific rules or regulations that require your data centers to be within your country of residence, that will be supported in the coming year, which we're very excited about. The beauty of using Amazon Web Services is that you don't have to invest in long-term hardware. You actually take a capital expenditure and turn it into a variable expense. And the beauty of that for Amazon, and we can attest to that with our 5 years of experience using it, is they've had, this number is actually up to 52 price reductions since 2006. The cost of hosting a PeopleSoft instance on Amazon since that we started has been reduced by about 70%. Okay, so those price reductions are significant and do allow you to take advantage of newer technologies and better hardware and faster services. For example, when we started, it was primarily magnetic disk that we had to use when we launched an instance. The EC2 instances had certain sizes. So now we've been able to actually get the same performance that we had 5 years ago on a smaller instance because they've switched to SSD drives, which that was just automatic. The price didn't increase. They reduced the price of magnetic and paid the SSD drive the same price as what magnetic used to be. So you automatically get a performance improvement there, as well as you get a cost savings because you don't have to buy the more expensive disk, or it didn't cost you more. So, based on the pricing, and then when they release new instance types, we can better choose the type that best meets our needs. For example, when we started, there was these M1 instances, which were the first generation. Now they have these T2 instances that are much smaller, but have more memory and higher burst capability that better addresses the way we would deploy PeopleSoft architecture. And then the pricing model, obviously we can change our structure to better meet our pricing demands or workload demands. And then we got different types of instances. We can do spot instances or reserved instances or on-demand instances depending on what we're trying to accomplish. And then obviously the more use you provide to Amazon, obviously they have tiered pricing structure so that when you hit certain volumes, then your discounts become larger, and then your pricing becomes a lot more cost effective. So that just cost and flexibility is a highly desirable part of Amazon Web Services. From the specific services, one of the things that's overwhelming when you first go to Amazon is all the different services they offer. They got ecosystem services from their marketplace, their consulting partners. One of the things that we've actually been working with some of our clients on is containers. So if you've heard of Docker containers, things like that, we've been able to deploy PeopleSoft leveraging Docker containers, which is something relatively new in the last 6 months. That helps us deploy and manage the configuration changes much more effectively. They have tools like CloudFormation and OpsWorks that aren't really geared to PeopleSoft, but those are features for applications that you can build in the cloud as you mature or you have other areas that you want to leverage for the management of your corporations. There's management and administration tools with the management console. They see it SDK interfaces, using CloudTrail for monitoring of activity against your instances. And then analytics. We've done some work with some clients where we leverage Redshift for data modeling and data analysis. So we could extract data from PeopleSoft, move it to Redshift, do the data crunching, and then provide reports to that in some open source tools. So instead of having to invest in a large business intelligence application or database server, we can leverage Redshift, which for 1 terabyte I think was about $2,000 a year, which is pretty cost effective. Excuse me. Then there's also application services, secure SES for secure email services, CloudFront for documents. If you run a big website and you have information to be shared around different places around the world, they can use that to move the data around. One of the things we use is workspaces. So those are virtual desktops in the cloud. So we can actually deploy a predefined configuration to your employees with all the PeopleSoft infrastructure pre-configured on it, and they would just sign into the workspace and everything would be there automatically for them. Obviously networking, leveraging VPCs is highly critical. You don't want your data publicly available on the internet, so using a VPC you're able to secure the data and only allow specific IPs or connectivity from within your data center to Amazon. If you have higher needs, Direct Connect provides a direct connection between your data center and Amazon's data center for additional costs, and then Route 53 for DNS routing. And then, of course, the most important part for us around the PeopleSoft world is the compute, storage, and database. All our deployments, we leverage RDS, either Oracle or Microsoft SQL Server. So that's a fully managed database on Amazon's cloud. The only thing you need to worry about managing is your schemas within the database. Everything else is managed by Amazon, the setups of backups and all that type of stuff. And then, of course, the compute. We leverage auto-scaling and the load balancers for PeopleSoft to ensure that we always get the highest performing system for our clients. So the nice thing about EC2 is you have a variety of operating systems, Windows or Linux, all the different Linux distributions, whether it's Red Hat, do you prefer Oracle Linux, or leveraging some other Linux derivatives such as Ubuntu or something like that. The instance types, we've probably got the largest selection of instance types available today on Amazon. So we have everything from a micro instance that's like 1 cent an hour to large, highly scalable instances that can do some pretty heavy-duty number crunching. All the instances are fully managed by us in our deployments, and and that takes care of the application layer down. From a storage option, as I mentioned, you have Elastic Block Stores. Allows you to provision from 1 gigabyte to 1 terabyte in size per disk. And so disk storage is relatively cheap at 10 cents a gigabyte. I've looked at some other services, and they're charging up to $3.50 a gigabyte for disk storage. So there is some great discrepancies, differences in prices between the different providers. And then, as our data ages over time, we can move it to S3 storage or to Glacier, which is basically a long-term backup for data that you may not use that frequently. Okay, and that's 1 cent a gigabyte or something like that, and I think that's even coming down further. The heart and soul of it, though, is our database. So with the relational database service, most of our customers, being PeopleSoft clients, are either on Oracle or Microsoft SQL Server. So we've got a blend of customers on both infrastructures. Both of them run really well, and we use from medium-sized instances up to very large instances. Clients that we've deployed range in size from 10 users of PeopleSoft to 85,000 users of PeopleSoft, and all of them have had performance increases after we've moved them to Amazon compared to what they had in their on-premise data centers. Key things here is automated patching, backups automated, and then automated failover, to another database. So all those things that take time, money, and effort to implement are all built into the infrastructure of Amazon. From a network perspective, it's a software-defined network. So you set up your VPN connection between your data center and Amazon, and then all traffic flows between the two data centers. And then if you wanted to go a step further with a dedicated private network, then you could actually purchase a direct connectivity between you and AWS. We've got one client that's using Direct Connect right now, and that's but other than that, everyone else is using a standard VPN connectivity. So the other thing too is if you're in the public sector and you need some higher level security, they actually offer an option for a dedicated server. Okay, so you can actually have a server in their data center dedicated to your use. Obviously, you're going to pay a premium for that versus using the shared hardware in the traditional software Amazon Web Service environment. And then identity and access management, some new features have been released where you can actually control and monitor and track all activity on your infrastructure through the Amazon control panel, as well as being able to integrate directory services into those security options. So, for example, to enable two-factor authentication, you can leverage what Amazon has provided. The other thing, they just announced that you can now encrypt the whole image of your EC2 instance. Previously, you could not encrypt the root drive of your image for your instance, but as of December 15th, they announced that you're now able to encrypt the your full AMI within Amazon. So now you have full encryption from front to back end of your infrastructure, database, app, web servers, and all traffic communications between them as well. So that's the last layer of security that was not there. So now we're fully 100% encrypted and secure to the most current requirements. As I mentioned, fine-grained access control over your data, where we can actually track and monitor all activity that goes on between the world and your data elements inside of Amazon, where we can actually control the access, as well as through CloudTrail do in-depth audits, where it tracks all activity incoming and outgoing to the instance. 5 years ago when we started, our biggest challenge with clients is, well, we need this certification from this government entity or whatever. Amazon's done a fantastic job of getting every one of those certifications. So whether it's SOC, ISAE, HIPAA, FedRAMP, ISO, or ITAR certifications, they've all been taken care of, and they're adding new ones all the time as new government requirements or regulations that are required come into play. So getting into PeopleSoft on AWS, as I mentioned, there's a lot of services that Amazon offers, and so we've actually worked with Amazon to define the standardized deployment layout for PeopleSoft infrastructure, leveraging the capabilities of Amazon while also respecting what's required by PeopleSoft. So standard deployment would start with a Route 53 setup for your domain registration and management. Leverage elastic load balancers on the front end to connect to your web servers. So you can load balancer web servers. So that's similar to an F5 load balancer if you're familiar with load balancers. Minimal cost. It's like 2 cents an hour or something like that. Then you have your PeopleSoft web servers, okay, which can, depending on which type of application you're running. For example, if you're running HR in a cloud, we may enable auto scaling for those times where you may have benefits enrollment periods in September through December, where you're going to have a heavier workload, so auto scaling can take care of automatically scaling them up, or we can manage it through a more traditional approach, whereas during that time period we know that we're going to need a certain level of hardware capacity where we can scale some instances up temporarily for that period, and then at the end of the time period shut them down, and then so we only pay for time during the period that we require it. You can leverage load balancers again for your application servers, which are the workhorses of the PeopleSoft world. And then again, you could use auto scaling for those to manage the workload. And then, of course, your database center, databases with automated multi-zone failover enabled. The way that works with Amazon is, they have a 0.5 second millisecond, I believe it is, time frame for you to lose connectivity before it fails over to the second server. As soon as that one fails over, then it fails over. The third one provisions itself and starts getting ready for service should the second one fail over. So that's automatically backed up. You can do up to 35 days of backups. We have talked to some clients, specifically in the public sector and that need longer periods of time backups. So what we do is we copy those backups down into S3 for longer term storage, and then eventually we could move them to Glacier or to get rid of them if they're no longer required after a certain period of time. So a lot of clients, the primary use cases are obviously for PeopleSoft environments to run our production instances, dev, test, prod, for example. We can leverage Amazon for a disaster recovery site. So we talked to some clients about doing it that way, where they keep their main data center, and then we're just creating a replica of everything on Amazon in case of failover. That's becoming, more and more customers prefer to use Amazon for the whole thing. And then we heavily use it for training, proof of concept, or sandbox, patch testing and debugging, in instances where you may need those services. So we do offer a demo on demand service or a development on demand service where we can fire up an instance, you can do your work in it, and then at the end of the time period, you shut it down or terminate it, and you can move on. So if you don't have excess capacity in your data center to manage that, we can take care of that for you as well. So when you deploy on Amazon, we've actually had a combination of new implementations for PeopleSoft versus migrations from on-premise. So obviously new implementations are much simpler for us. We can use our templates and throw everything up and get it all staged for a client and get it configured and import their data. And a migration from on-premise, the biggest challenge there is what release you're on, how many customizations you have, and then just getting the infrastructure ready to handle that. So that may take a little more. That takes a little bit more time than, say, a new implementation, where we can use the latest release and get everything up and going. We can have an instance stood up on Amazon within about a 24-hour period for a new implementation. For a migration, we could probably have it up within about 36 to 72 hours, depending on what release you're on and some of the elements that we may need to import. The other thing from on-premise is, if you've made certain choices in configuration or setup, those could impact the way we have to deploy it in Amazon, so we get to account for them. What we do try to do, though, is migrate all clients to the current best practices as feasible. So if we see things that are set up a certain way in their environment, we say, hey, you know what, there's a better way to do this. When we move to Amazon, let's switch it over so that we're all compliant and secure and all those other elements. So just from a high level estimate perspective, we've got 25 clients now that we're managing on Amazon. The average client is about 4,000 users. We built in fault tolerance, automated backups, and failover. All of them get 8 terabytes of disk space allocated, and all of them have a demo, development, test, and production environment. So the estimated cost for that full in for just standard production and support is about $6,500 a month. We've done some studies of competitors at the marketplace, and that's probably about 1/4 to 1/5 the cost of most of our competitors. Obviously, if you're moving to Amazon yourself, then you can get some additional savings. But if you were looking for a fully managed solution, we are probably the most cost-effective out there in the marketplace. Obviously, the fees vary depending on your specific requirements. A lot of times, when we move PeopleSoft to the cloud, customers say, "Hey, we want to move some of our utility servers, or move our Active Directory, or our SharePoint, or all those other fill-in applications that you may have that tap into PeopleSoft or to integrate into PeopleSoft." So we end up starting to bring all those applications over as well. So we also have a proof of concept service. This is where we can set up a replica of your environment, maybe a dev or a test on Amazon, or just a demo, so that we can kind of show you what it looks like. So usually we can get, we do have a program that we're involved with Amazon for proof of concept service, where we can get the hosting fees waived, and then we have a minimal fee that we charge to help just for the migration and setup of the environment. And then you get about 3 months of use for free in terms of usage that you can do with and prototype whatever it is you're working on. So we can mix and match the OSs and the databases, and just so you can see which performs better for your environment. And then, of course, for you to get the comfort level that you need and validate any assumptions and feasibility studies that you may have to do for your deployment. So, a real simple look at moving to AWS. These are the steps that we go through. It's not more complicated than that. Obviously, in the details there are more complications than that, but from a high-level perspective, we set up the VPC. We create the foundational infrastructure, that's the web app, process scheduler, DB servers. We copy your database into AWS. We complete any manual configuration, setups, file directory updates, things like that that are required for your environment. We run a test of the environment and the application. That's usually from 1 week to 3 weeks, typically. We could do 2 test moves to production, 2 iterations to make sure that we got the whole process down, and then do a final move to production. So the total time to deploy, our fastest customer we actually did in 4 weeks. It was kind of an urgent thing. They came to us and said, "Hey, we need this done ASAP. We don't have capacity on internal servers." So we did it in 4 weeks. A little painful, but we did it successfully, and they're a very well-off customer now. They've been on for over a year. And then, in the longest time frame, should take about 12 weeks to move everything over if you were doing a full lift and shift type migration from your own data center to Amazon. The constraints to that time is large databases. The beauty of that right now, though, is Amazon's released a new service called the Data Migration Service. It's a service you pay I think it was free right now because it's still in beta, but I believe the cost they were talking about is about $250 a month. So it's really cost-effective, and you only pay for it for the duration that you use it. And what that does, it allows you to connect to your on-premise database from Amazon, and basically it's a replication service. It'll connect to your database, or replicate it up to an Amazon RDS instance, and then once it gets to real-time replication, basically the weekend of cutover would be we turn off the on-premise database, we start and disable the synchronization once it's completed, and then we point everything to your production in Amazon, and we go live. So That's a huge savings. We did have some other partners we worked with. Their fees were a little higher than that. And then there's also other tools that you can use instead of that. But we got one customer as a service, like I said, still a beta. We got one customer we're testing it with, and it appears to be working pretty good for us. Other things that cause problems is customizations. If you're heavily customized, it's not so much that you did the customizations, so much as how they were done. If they didn't follow standards, Oracle, PeopleSoft standards in terms of how you do your date time entries and things like that. We had one client that was heavily customized, and some of the code wasn't as clean as it should be, and so we had to do some redevelopment of their customizations to respect, the standards that were there, because we get with RDS you get less control of some of the database parameters, so that they were handling it through a different way, correcting it rather than fixing the code. And then getting your connections to your on-premise resources set up. That would include LDAP, any file servers, as well as any specific security requirements, firewalls, filters, etc., that you leverage for your security. And of course, availability of your team to test, which is always a challenge in some of the smaller client environments. In regards to benefits, the ability to start and stop instances. We were looking at one customer we were migrating. They had, when they wanted to start a new instance, well, the supplier said, well, you have to provision it for at least 3 months, and if you don't, then it's this cost, and it was pretty hefty fees that they had to pay that were part of their contract with Amazon. We only pay for the time that it's used, so if you only use it for 2 hours and you decide, you know what, I don't need it, you shut it down, you're done with it. You get charged at 2 hours of time, which is, at go to $1.50 an hour for the total environment, so you get charged $3 for that 2 hours that you were using it. Reduced time to implementation. One of the biggest challenges when I was first implementing PeopleSoft is we'd go on site to the client and they say, well, we don't have a demo up yet. It won't be ready for 3 weeks. With Amazon, it's up and running within 15 minutes. If you need a demo environment, we can fire it up and be ready and going. Reduce complexity of the technical environment. One thing we've done for all our clients is we standardize them all on the same infrastructure. So for us to manage it is very easy because everyone's exactly the same. Now the difference between each client is not the infrastructure so much as the size of the independent components of that infrastructure. So one customer's web server for 10 users, maybe a T2 small, whereas customer, they have 4,000 users. Well, we may have 3 web servers that are, M4 larges, for example. So, but our infrastructure is exactly the same. Configurations are all very similar. And so it makes it very easy from a management perspective because you know exactly how to configure it and to fine-tune it based on the different sizes of the clients. Our ability to experiment with different scenarios, and I would also add to that bullet point is to take advantage of new services that Amazon offers. For example, the Docker service, container service. If you're moving to PeopleSoft 8x5 tools, well, guess what? They built into that Dockerized container type services. So we can actually use that and leverage that to make deploying and management of your configuration of the individual web app and web process scheduler servers very simple. Another thing that we had problems with in the past is ability to add disk space. It's always terrible when you run out of disk space and it's like, it's going to take a week for the new drives to get here. With Amazon, if you need more disk, you just go to the console, say add new disk, and within 5 minutes you'll have it attached to your infrastructure and ready to go. And then, if you're a business that grows or shrinks, through acquisitions or success or failure in the marketplace, the nice thing about Amazon is you can adjust accordingly. So if you grow to 85,000 employees, we can scale you up and we'll be able to manage it at that point in time. And then if you start to say, you know what, we need to downsize a little bit, we can scale the instances down to right size it based on the size of your organization. So that's a big help as well. And then for us, repeatability has become one reason we can do a customer in 4 weeks is because we've done it 25 times. We know exactly how to do it, and it's made it so we're very efficient at it and can repeat it over and over again. So, the biggest point here is other things to think about, is other applications that you integrate with. A lot of times, customers say, "Oh, I didn't know we had that other application." So just being aware of what you integrate with your PeopleSoft environments is helpful, and then allows you to take care of it. The other area is printers. If you use PeopleSoft forever, printers have always been kind of a pain point. They haven't gone away with Amazon, but that we got that figured out. But it's always security and ports and that. But with new IP-based printers, it's less of a problem. On our website, we do offer the test drive, like I mentioned at the beginning of the seminar. Is we founded the test drive program. Our test drive is a PeopleSoft 9.1 instance. We find a lot of customers that are moving to Amazon or on older releases. We can provision you a 9.2 release. We actually have the ability to convert all PUM images to Amazon now. So we can provision you the most recent PUM image if you liked. So you can play with that. And the image that we provide is a single image. Everything's combined into it, so it's not performance tuned in the terms of, it's not going to be super fast. It's just going to be good enough for a single user to play. But through our proof of concept program, we can show you, how fast the system can be. Like I said, every client that we move to Amazon, it actually runs faster on Amazon than it did in their on-premise data center. All right, I'll open it up for questions. So feel free to write them in the chat window or into the question area of the seminar. Can you hear me now? All right. So the first question was, has there been any security breaches on AWS? I can't speak to other clients or other people who have used it, but from our perspective, no, we have not had any security breaches. And no, as long as we follow, the standards as defined, Amazon's done a good job of educating all its partners in how to best deploy these applications in a secure manner. All the everything that Amazon provides to us in terms of tools is secured by default. So in actuality, we have to actually make it less secure ourselves. All the instances are, all the firewalls are locked down, everything like that. So it's really, up to us to ensure that it stays secured. And if something happens, that's probably because someone did it unintentionally or intentionally. We've been 100% successful in migrating customers to Amazon. And, and then the last one was cost savings. So our cost savings as compared to other cloud providers is probably, there's a recent study done by Amazon that said it's between 60 and 80%. We did a study for one of our most recent clients, and that the savings that came out to about 68% savings over their current provider. Anyone else? Okay, well, if anyone has any further questions, feel free to reach out to me directly via email. My email address is dbrunei@dlzpgroup.com, and I look forward to hearing from you. Have a good day, everyone. That's the end of our session.